Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard here on the channel this afternoon, this evening, whenever you get a chance to tune in on this fine Saturday. Of course, today's news, kind of 2-day old news, but I do want to discuss a little bit something about it and how it will change a little bit of the Oilers' perspective going into obviously the trade deadline and kind of the next few moves that happen for this Edmonton Oilers roster. I will say it's much easier and much nicer to have this conversation on a Saturday following a Friday night win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That is a huge relief, and obviously 2-5 sounds a lot worse than 3-4. So before we get too far into today's video, if you are new to the channel, I'd love to have you aboard as a subscriber. Of course, it's free, it's easy to do. Just click the button, click up on your TV control whatever you have to do there to get that subscribe button to pop up. But that said, obviously as well, the Oilers are going to stress us out, at least to start the season. That much I am sure will continue, because you're missing a couple key elements on this team: a top four right-hand shot defenseman and a guy up front, right? So far, our defensemen have kind of sparked the glove dropping, I guess you could say. But obviously, two, you've got Corey Perry, who kind of fills that role once in a while, but you're not going to count on old man Corey Perry, essentially. I'm not saying Corey Perry is ancient, but you get where I'm going. Corey Perry's not at an age where I want him fighting every second game to spark the Oilers. And yes, albeit the Pittsburgh Penguins game was already in hand before the Oilers fought last night, still, it's another game where the Oilers have a victory in a game in which they have a fight, which is the only way the Oilers have victories this season. Just a weird little trend developing here to begin 24-25. So, like I said, with the Oilers stressing us out to begin things at least, that leaves us wondering, well, okay, there is one guy on the roster not playing that could change things here. The quote-unquote 13th forward for this Edmonton Oilers group right now, and that is the man on the shelf, Evander Kane at this point. Kevin Weeks back on October 24th, so 2 days ago from recording, let us know that Evander Kane's looking to be on track to return to the Oilers lineup from his injuries in early 2025. So, right, I think the common theory was, and again, early 2025 is really the key part. The common theory was just keep him on the LTIR until, you get to the playoffs and then activate him, all that. But you look at this Oilers team, and one thing the Oilers had going for them at times early last year when they were struggling was Evander Kane being an impact player game in, game out when he wasn't too banged up, right? There's a lot of games he wasn't, but the games that he was on, he was changing the dynamic out there, most famously the Heritage Classic. So when it comes to having Evander Kane being potentially ready or likely ready for the start or early part of 2025, you've heard kind of, whether it be me repeating it or Bob Stauffer out there blasting it on the radio waves, simply saying the Oilers are looking to add, but the common theory is they might add one forward from the minors and then add someone else. The Oilers could very well afford to swap somebody from the minors, right? Noah Philp is obviously the name. Add in Evander Kane, you're still under the cap, and then you still have a little bit of room, about $5 million. Spend $4 million on the back end, spend $1 million on the forward group, and all of a sudden you've got 3 upgrades up front. Technically speaking, I think we all know that Noah Philp will be an upgrade over anyone we have on the fourth line by the time January hits. He is absolutely looking great. And then you have as well Evander Kane coming in, so Janmark can bump down out of the either out of the lineup altogether or out of the third line positioning there. And then obviously you move over probably Janmark to the fourth line, take out Corey Perry. That's kind of how I would do that over anything. But you just already start seeing how this starts unraveling a little bit here for the Edmonton Oilers in terms of, if Evander Kane's ready early in 2025, the possibilities are almost endless. You're not quite handcuffed with having to come up with a lineup that's going to push you through the last 35 games of the season to get you into the playoffs. So that's absolutely awesome to see for the Oilers. and I hope it stays true. We know all too well as Oilers fans that injury updates this far out usually don't pan out to be correct, and that's what I'm just using the Kevin Weeks thing to refer to. Is it's kind of, yeah, it's awesome to hear, it's hopeful, it's great, but usually there's a delay or something in the process. So we'll see what ultimately pans out here for the Edmonton Oilers, but just the amount of possibilities that would open up having Evander Kane back in the lineup, obviously having that physical presence, that runaround guy, and as well a guy that can score 20 goals in a season. That's never a bad thing to add to your lineup in mid-January for free. And don't forget as well a guy who won't be afraid to drop the gloves if his teammates need him to step up. So hey, you know what? If the Oilers are going to keep fighting to keep winning, I'm going to keep loving watching every single Oilers game, because the ones we've won this year have been absolute awesomeness to watch. But the problem is when you're losing the games and it's lackluster in that department, it really stings all that much more. But friends, thank you so much for being aboard here this afternoon. Really do appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to head on out. I got some plans this evening, so if there's anything breaking, somebody get a hold of me. From there, I'm up on gone.